It's a Saturday morning, and we'll wait for a while before everyone wakes up and joins us. So, as usual, wait a minute before I introduce my old friend here and what we're going to be talking about. Good morning, Jonathan.
Hi, morning, Frida.
Okay, how's your Saturday so far?
So far, so good.
So far,
Yeah,
so good,
always a
huh?
delight catching up with you. So, looking forward to our session.
Okay, as usual, before I start, just to let everyone know, we're going to be talking about influence. But along the way, if you have any questions or thoughts or comments, you can put it in the chat, and we will try to, we'll attempt to just answer your questions, or just we do appreciate your feedback as you're listening in as well. I'll give it a minute now for people to slowly come in. So
Streaming.
today, slowly streaming in. And if you're watching this after the fact, also you can still put your comments in, right? Because we still appreciate that. So today we're talking about creating a sustainable workforce, and it's around the topic of influence, right? And you think what's been happening around the world. There's a recession. You hear of layoffs. You hear of course, there's a conflict as well. And how important is it to create the sustainable workforce so people with influence can help everyone in the group feel that they fit in? I think not like at the very core of what influence is. When everyone feels included on your team, you'll work together better and be happier at work. You'll develop stronger relationships with co-workers and managers. An influential person has a certain degree of respect at work. How has it changed post-pandemic? Because people we haven't seen for a while. Hi, Johan.
Hi,
Uh,
Joanne.
okay, our expectations different right now. Do leaders have to work a little bit different? So yes, I'm here with Jonathan Lau. Jonathan centers his speaking and executive coaching work with organizations and senior executives around the premise to measurably improve their leadership effectiveness and business performance, especially in the areas of customer service experience, sales performance, leadership communication, and team development. You can find him at globalsuccesslearning.net, or I guess connect with him on LinkedIn as well. Jonathan, I know, like I said, I've known him for a long time. Hi, Sunny. You've known him for a long time. I know his background is in hospitality, and there's a lot around that. In your words, from your perspective, Jonathan, how would you define influence in the workplace?
Mm, Influence in the workplace. Well, I guess how I would define it is that, really influence is about, one person's ability to inspire action, to get buy-in from other people, how you are able to nurture, how you're able to motivate. But more importantly, sometimes I see influence as it's even more important when you're able to do it not from an authority position,
Mm.
when it's not due from ranks, it's due from titles, but you're still able to inspire people to do things, right? You get people, you get followers, and that's pretty much what I see as influence at the workplace.
Right. I have colleagues in my workplace, and when what to me is the ultimate when I've influenced them when they start calling me mama. Right? They know that when I say something, it's said with love, but this is mama talking. Hi, Alex. Hi, Scott.
Hi,
And hi,
Scott.
Karen. Okay.
Alex.
Karen, you're new here. After this, not so new anymore. So, yeah. So, I think to me, when someone starts calling me mama lovingly, well, usually lovingly, okay. So, how has leadership influence been impacted because of the pandemic, and what have you seen happening, right? And because we don't meet people face to face, and just before we came on as well, you're talking
Mm.
about training, right? And training virtually and training physically, it does make a difference, right? And I guess also when you talk about this, the telltale signs of danger ahead. Mm.
Um, I guess a lot have changed, right? A lot have changed over the last 2 years. We have transitioned. Prior to 2020, I was traveling a lot, running programs, engaging, and people just enjoying that in-person experience. But obviously, leadership has changed dramatically
Right.
in 2020, right? And one of the interesting elements that came out from that was in 2020, Gallup came out with a report, and they were asking, what do employees want from leaders, from organization? And out of that, there were actually four elements that came out, right? There were four elements that they wanted to have better trust. They want leaders to be more compassionate. They want leaders to provide that kind of stability and hope
Right.
that is so crucial at that time. And I think that that is a huge learning curve from what I've seen and experienced about influence, because you no longer have the opportunity to influence in person, but now you
Mm,
need to leverage technology, right, to do it virtually. And that's a huge learning curve. Some leaders were able to embrace it much quicker.
right.
Some took a longer time. Some were like still struggling, what do we do? And some were like, I guess to a certain extent myself, would say, hey, this is going to go off in a couple of months.
Huh.
Yeah, good for myself, right? So a couple of months into a couple of years, right? So we are now in this stage, but I feel that trust and compassion, even post pandemic, as we're going through endemic now, is what I'm hearing a lot, that leaders are getting better, but still a lot of work needs to be on this area of trust and also compassion.
Trust and compassion, and
Mm,
because the home situation has changed, right, and it impacts the workplace. I just want to say hi again to Mio and Ronald, and Johan had an interesting comment: influence, ability to inspire others to take action, right?
mm,
A good definition. Speaking of Gallup, you were saying, right, I just did a story just yesterday on the Gallup result, and negativity in the workplace is on the rise, and no surprises there, right? I mean, and it doesn't, I think everyone's also, like, even as leaders, you're also insecure about your own work, and maybe that passes on to the people around you, right? So
mm.
that's one thing, right? Now, with that in mind, right, how do you build influence when we've got new working models, right? How do you continue to influence people? Some have continued to work from home. Now there's a combination of hybrid, and then here you're trying to influence people. What do you
Mm.
do?
So, um, yeah, it's a lot of interesting conversation, but I feel that, just building on what I mentioned earlier about trust,
Mm,
um, one key portion is really the work of emotional intelligence.
okay.
Even in, I guess, 2017, 2018, the World Economical Forum said that in 2022, which is this year,
Mm,
emotional intelligence is going to be a big piece of the whole leadership. What do you need to have skills and knowledge? And that came out as a big piece. So
right.
just building on that, the way leaders influence, I think it all starts with trust, right? Why should someone listen to you? Why should someone follow you? It
Mm,
starts from trust. So I have this 4 C's of trust, which is a research done by 6 Seconds International,
mm,
and it talks about you being really competent in whatever you do. I
mm,
mean, if you really look at it, we model after people. We follow people that are good in what they do. They're competent, right? The ability, the knowledge, the skills. They're really good at what they do. At the same time, they will do what they say they will do, and that's commitment, right?
okay.
Not just yeah,
Competence, commitment. Okay.
yeah, competence, commitment, saying what you would do, and not just the NATO version of it. No
Right.
action, talk only, and just being very consistent, during the whole journey, right? And modeling the way. It's easy to say something, but people are looking at what you would do after you've said it.
Mm, mm,
So I
actually,
think that's key. And the fourth C is really about care and compassion, right?
right.
Even more so, the way leaders need to attract, develop, engage, and retain talents
Right.
are so important to have that piece.
Right.
So leaders need to actually check in more often now.
Right.
You need to check in, have more conversation, to build that bridge, right? And especially now that we have hybrid, right?
Mm,
Hybrid. I've recently done some work with a large global financial institution,
mm,
and they actually spend a day or 2 days at work. The
mm,
rest of the time is still work from home.
mm,
And to me, it is really about being intentional about the time that you have at work.
right.
People love just being together with other colleagues, but now you have very limited time. So how can you make that intention to really go deeper,
Mm,
to really understand? So I guess, being a coach myself, just having a coaching mindset and a growth mindset is really crucial.
mm,
Instead of, gone are the days that you tell people what to do, but you really get to know them as a human being.
okay.
I
And
think
it's
that
no, yeah.
influence, yeah.
The things that you say is no surprises, but I don't know whether people have the ability or the know-how on how to do this, right? And
Mm,
um, just so interesting that you said this survey 2017 about emotional intelligence. Little did they know about the 2 years that was going to happen, right?
absolutely.
Okay. Morning, Paul. Morning, Kunseng. Karen. Okay, Karen had a comment. Emotional intelligence, it starts with respect and accepting the differences. I guess that's one. And if you got anything to comment about this as well. And Mior said, trust plus capability plus clarity.
Mm,
Clarity. I like that. C. Right. I think
mm.
sometimes, and when you talk about clarity, also, right. Morning, Ashikin. When you talk about clarity, sometimes how do you display clarity when you as a leader are not so clear yourself? Sometimes.
Just having a lot of conversation, right?
Yeah.
Asking good question to find out more. Be really curious. Go from a very curious perspective to
Mm,
ask, because it's usually what I've seen is when information are cascaded down to the different level of the organization, that's where it gets a little bit muffled.
mm,
So your ability as a leader to be really clear in articulating that communicative piece of that information is really what sets you apart. And people will resonate with people when they have a clear vision of where they want to go. And even sometimes the vision and the journey could be a little bit, we pretty much need to be really agile at this
mm.
stage. But
Right.
just being there to realign and not just, hey, here's our vision, go do it. I
Right.
think that needs to be something that's going to be worked on ongoing as everyone is just going through this whole process.
Right. And this alignment, it's going to happen a lot more often. I mean, basically, you cannot just say I've aligned and then wait for 1 year later, 6 months later. Sometimes there's a lot of realignment going on because of the fact that it's work from home and hybrid, right?
Hmm.
Shikin said, Nur Shikin said, respect and appreciate others. LinkedIn uses as stability. Razman said, for clarity, seek to understand others, right? And, we all come in with different packages, right? And with different situations at home. Lead by example. Karen says clarity in delegating tasks. Yes. So I don't know. Any thoughts around this, Jonathan? Before I ask you the next question.
Yeah, so clarity in delegating tasks, I think it's the two-way. It
Mm,
takes two parties to tango.
right.
Not only should the leader be communicating on clarity, but if you are not clear about certain situation, I think you need to be communicating. Speak up is a pretty big thing that I'm hearing these days, and I've
Yeah.
been working. I think technology is great, but sometimes people leverage technology too much and
Yeah.
they don't speak up as often, right?
Right.
And this
Right.
is where it gets a little bit muffled. So
Right.
the more you're able to speak up, to articulate your curiosity, to articulate things that you need clarity, that will help both parties. And again,
Mm,
it really takes intentional efforts by everyone to make this work. Because
right.
I'll leave it to you to do it, and it may not, the results may not be as great as.
Right. Okay, and I'm just thinking of the work situation where I'm at, right? We've got 5 different individuals from different age groups, from different backgrounds,
Mm,
and a 20-year-old, a 22-year-old, and a 26-year-old. They just work. They operate differently. It's not even a generational thing because it comes from their background, right?
yeah.
Sometimes also like the word influence, right? We're having this topic. Has it lost its sheen? Do people take influence seriously? Do we, because we always influence, we always think of leaders, right? And then sometimes we look at the leaders, we're not so influenced by the leaders. you know has it lost its sheen when we use that word?
I think the context is different.
Mm,
Influence is still important. I mean, even if you look at a different generation, right?
yeah.
A couple of cases is, you see how many people just stepped out. They are, even during the flood situation, right? Even during the
Mm,
pandemic, right?
mm,
Yeah, they by title don't consider themselves as leaders, but
right.
when the opportunity comes, they just step out and say, hey, what can I do to make a difference, right? What can I do to help, right? What can I do to play a deeper part?
Mm,
And that just come very naturally, and that's influence, right? You rally people behind a certain cause, and you begin to share that vision of your intention, and that really inspire other people to do similar things. So
mm,
I feel that even within the different generation, influence will, when you're able to bring about purpose
mm,
to individual,
mm,
and this will go back into the motivation drives.
right.
Dan Ping shares about how people resonating towards autonomy when they have mastery and when there's a deep purpose in
Right.
whatever they do. So I think
Right.
if you're a coach, you can use a lot of coaching question to really just find out a little bit more about what resonates to you, right? What is your motivation driver? I think just answering that will help the different needs that is important to different individuals or leaders from different generations.
I like what you said about the flood situation, right? You see everybody coming out, a lot of people coming out and just helping, right? And everybody, to me, was a leader in that aspect. Of course, some people had to comment, and then there are the people who are not out there helping, right? So that was such a great example of a purpose
Mm.
and people just rolling up their sleeves and pulling up their pants really to walk to the flood waters to help people. Hi Shamsul, no, Muir said intentional effort sounds simple, but to arrive there is not as simple.
Mm.
No, it's not, And then Razman said, avoid being judgmental. There are new possibilities from divergent views. Very
Mm.
true. Andrew says, morning. I saw a Singaporean entrepreneur posted that millennials no longer want to work hard. And the first question they ask in interviews about flexibility, work-life balance. The point is that the younger force has moved the wrong way and no longer understands success and dreams can't be achieved without hard work. She was criticized for having a boomer mentality. How do you bridge this divide? Sorry for long. I know, Andrew. I know it's not. It's it's a valid question. Okay, this one then I have to give Jonathan the answer.
In terms of the boomers, right? In terms of the requirements,
Yeah.
I guess even the younger generation, right? There was a study done by Accenture too on between working on site and working remotely, right?
Mm,
And there's always the pro and con of both sides.
mm,
If you really to look at it, and it's very interesting. For people to enjoy working on site, there
mm.
were five things, but the second one that came in is, of course, there's better technology resources available on site. But the second biggest one that came out was actually colleagues.
Right.
They are able to learn from colleagues,
Mm,
right? So I guess between the word work hard, I guess it's also working smart.
yeah.
And this is where I see the millennials, the next leaders generation, right? They want to learn, right? They don't mind working hard, but they want to leverage technology to learn smarter, right? How can we within the time that you have in the organization, be it 2 days, right? How can we work smart and still achieve greater productivity and have great work-life balance?
Right.
Safety, quality of life were the top two why
Mm,
they want to be working remotely from the Essential Report. So again, just looking at what matters individually to people, just having that conversation, what motivates you, I think we'll have a lot
yeah.
of interesting results from there.
Just back to Andrew's point, right?
Mm.
I hear that a lot, right? And usually during interviews when they ask that question, possibly don't hire this person. And then, of course it's about working, right? And they ask for this work-life balance that maybe you can work first and then we'll talk about the balance later. um and I get it, right? And maybe it's a case of sitting down and asking what the person wants.
Mm.
I'll just give an example of this 22-year-old that's just joined the organization, and she has got this job and she's got two side hustles, right? And I don't think she comes from a poor background that she needs to do all this, but she's just driven in another way. And so when I have this conversation, I said, encourage her. I said, if you can manage your time and you're able to do other things as well, I encourage you. So it wasn't an age thing, right? So
Right.
sometimes she's 22, but she's just packaged differently. I don't know. Parents raised her well,
I,
Yeah,
I I guess it's all about the human motivation drivers, right? Some of us
right.
are driven by a sense of achievement. In Asian context, I can't generalize this, but
Mm,
belonging and love is, we like the community spirit. Some are resonating towards that. Some love certainty. They don't
mm,
like changes, right?
right.
Some love variety. So again, different things contribute to different people. So I think the ability of a leader to communicate differently,
Right.
right? And just not assume that everyone is like them, that will open up a whole world of opportunities.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this person when she's doing the other thing, right? It is a completely different skill, and she's able to learn something new that the organization can't offer, right?
Mm.
And so I find that even with that skill, she can actually bring it to the workplace, and I think it's great that you're able to do that. But again, I guess in this case for leaders when it comes to influence, also understanding where you also have to give in a bit.
Mm,
right? We cannot be so rigid and inflexible in our expectations, right?
mm.
Okay, how do you know you have influence in the workplace? Because we say it's intangible, right? How is it seen in positive results, right? Other than numbers and KPIs.
I guess behavioral change is one good indication, and when people start to do the things that you have suggested or recommended, and when they actually do it. I mean, these are a lot of observation, right? I mean, but besides that, a lot of tools are also available. They can measure your attrition, right? How well are you retaining people? How well are the engagement scores, right? And one great opportunity is, what are people talking about the organization
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
social platform, right? Are
right,
they bragging about the brands, how happy they are? Check out the happiness index, right? There are
right.
even tools that looks at success factors, your quality of life, your well-being. So I
Mm,
think that those are really good indication. Um, and when people start to model and follow the leader's way,
mm,
I think
right,
that's a good indication, right?
right, right.
Besides just because when people do the things they're inspired to do, the results will come. And you can see it eventually from the financial numbers, from the customer satisfaction, from sales
Yeah.
results. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Neetu here says one role, one person model may no longer work as the work environment is highly dynamic. I think really, that's the case.
Mm,
Razman said, Shamsul, Bhutan Happiness Index.
mm,
Razman said agility is one of the key to navigate through fast-changing environment. Boomers can be successful too if they can adapt and embrace change. In this age of complexity, leaders need to adopt multiple approaches for different groups, and I think that's the key, right? To
yep.
influence and agility. It's not. People think it's what survival of the fittest. It's not. It's survival of the most adaptable that
Mm,
survives, right? Just like the cockroaches.
absolutely. Yeah. Adaptable is a big word. Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
it's truly, but yeah.
Adaptable and flexibility.
Mm.
Any comments so far from all the people who said that? Now you've been training and coaching here in Malaysia, and now of course traveling overseas again, right? What have you and I know you work a lot with people from the hospitality industry. What have you seen differently with people, and what's the work ahead when it comes to influence?
One of the biggest opportunity for leaders is really to embrace the two things that I spoke about,
Mm,
which is on trust, right? How can they build greater trust? How can they humanize the experience? Because people, and it's interesting because if you look at human beings in general, like we are pretty adaptable.
mm,
And initially, when the pandemic happened, MCO started, everyone said, what is going to happen to us? We
good
can't
job.
work. But now suddenly, hey, it is possible, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
as we are moving back to more in person, we are actually pretty resilient in that sense.
Mm,
And we are able to adapt and pick up things. So I feel for leaders is, based on the time that they've missed, the communication bit would be crucial to build that relationship, right? To
mm,
build that relationship, understand as a person, high in
mm,
empathy, have the compassion there, but at the same time still being firm and having the clarity on the objective, right? Because
right.
it's a chicken and egg story, right? If
Mm.
you show too much compassion, what is the impact to the stakeholder, the organization? So that's the ability of the leader to balance that. And
Okay.
the more successful you are in doing that, the greater your influence will be.
Okay, just reading a couple of comments here. Nitu says offering employees opportunity to expand themselves and taking up unrelated projects and supporting them is the way forward. Thanks anyway, guys, for commenting
Yeah,
and chatting.
I
Uh,
love it. Yeah.
yeah, very interactive.
Mm,
Individuals are seeking purposeful jobs, working for and with a purpose, and this is beyond. I feel this is beyond generations, right?
yeah.
You and I want to find purpose in what we do, right? Karen says credibility and trust are based on work performances. Yes. Uh, Leaders are able to create psychological safety among his or her team members. Any comments around psychological safety? I think this is something that's been brought up a lot. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, for sure. Psychological safety, right? If they share something, are they going to be put down? Do they have the space to open up? And this is where, when you embrace a coaching mindset, you have that space, right? Even for ICF, they have a whole core competency that you need to adhere to, and code of ethics, right? As a coach is really crucial. So having that safe space will help people to open up, right, in some of their deepest concern. And this is where, if you're a leader, if you practice a coaching mindset and approach, this is where you can really help someone. So it's not so much of telling people what to do, it's really about using powerful question to help raise their self-awareness and what's the potential of them growing to the next level. So the agenda is really much that individual. And this is where, just setting intentional time moments with individuals will propel. Because imagine that maybe 30 minutes or 1 hour of time spent could empower them so much that they will just take on the thing and run with it, right?
Yeah.
Rather than you are always micromanaging and telling people what to do. I don't think that works too well these days. So my personal opinion is have to build a relationship, build the trust, understand the motivation driver of the individual, and approach it from a coach.
Right, right. Okay, now, do you feel that as leaders, they have a greater responsibility to influence, right? Do they, is it a, and do the principles change of, the principles and influence, does it change post-pandemic?
I think before pandemic and post pandemic, you need to be authentic, as a leader, right? People can see you. People are pretty smart in general. They'll be able to
Yeah,
see whether you're genuine, whether you're authentic. So just having that authenticity, right, as an individual, both at work and off work, really tells a lot, right? So how are you showing up at both places? So I feel that will really be important. Be really authentic, showcase a lot of empathy, demonstrate the compassion, build trust, and you will be in a good state.
right. Thanks, Ramshul, for joining, and also in everyone, Mior, and Selamat Raya in advance for those of
Yeah,
you.
selamat
Yeah,
raya to
anyway,
everyone, my friends.
you were saying empowerment has been the most preferred style, and if you have any comments and questions, please let us know. But I think really just want to just take this 30 minutes for a conversation. But you will be speaking for the Malaysia Leadership Summit. I always get here, Malaysia Leadership
Yes.
Summit, which is happening on July 21st. For those of you who are interested to participate, do come in, do join us. Actually, all the proceeds from that event will be contributed for social causes. So I think it's really great that we're doing this. I know Leadernomics is leading this. So this happening on July 21st. I'll put the link later on for those of you who are keen to join us again. What will you be sharing on July 21st?
Yeah, I will be sharing on what transformational leadership for success is all about. And one big piece is on what we've just discussed,
Right,
which is on influence.
right.
And, for a long time, when you talk about that summit, right? So it is also brought about because of what we do in Together We Can Change the World. A couple of speakers got together, they founded this wonderful initiative, and I've been blessed to be part of that initiative for so many years. And it's so amazing when speakers are coming together, to give back to the
Yeah,
community, right? And,
yeah.
and you can see a lot of group. And my life was inspired, it was influenced by the work of Scott Freeman, I believe he's here, watching it, people
You're
like
from
Roshan.
Nashville, okay?
Yeah, people like Roshan, so
Uh,
amazing folks, right? And even on the day, just to learn from 10 different speakers, international speakers, and
yeah.
all contribution is given back to the community in Malaysia. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, and I think that something like that is fantastic as well, and it's time to give back, And so, if you're all interested in normal, we're going to get speakers from all over. Now that we can all travel, they're actually coming from a lot of them are actually coming from overseas.
Yeah.
Just a couple of comments here again. Leaders, Kun Singh said, leaders still lead by example. Inspect what you expect. Muir says, I wonder
Mm.
how many leaders out there really see coaching as one of the main competency required by leaders nowadays. I don't know. Like Jonathan, what say you as you're out there training and coaching?
So a lot of education still needs to happen, right? A lot of
Yeah,
education still needs to happen. If you ask me about coaching 15 years ago, I think it's in a better place now,
yeah,
but
yeah.
still a lot of things needs to do. And those that have embraced the coaching culture, they can see the results, right? The
Mm,
results that is happening, but it takes two to tango for sure.
okay. So yeah, okay, Scott, I don't know what time it is in Nashville. Okay. So anyway, can't wait anymore. I wonder who that is. But yes, I'll put the link down a little later. And thank you everyone for joining us talking about this topic of influence, which seems so intangible and yet so tangible, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's felt, whether how the workplace is felt. So we'll be addressing those things plus many other things at the Leadership Summit. Next week, I will get Roshan Tiran himself. I can
Yeah.
ping him down. And we're talking about inspiration next week. I'll send you the details out later. Thank you, Jonathan, for
Most
spending
welcome.
this morning. I look forward to see you physically on July 21st. And for those of you who would like to join us, please do so as well. Again, for all our Muslim friends, Selamat Hari Raya. And if you're on the road, everyone do drive safely. And until then, thanks again and have a great weekend.
Yeah. Thanks to all the friends that were able to join today. I love seeing your chat and your contribution too.
All right.
Travel
Bye
safe,
now.
Selamat Raya.
Okay.